The church stood silent, bathed in afternoon light filtering through stained glass windows. Rows of guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, whispers rippling through the crowd like wind through wheat fields. Minji stood alone at the altar, her white dress catching the light, her bouquet trembling in her hands. 30 minutes had passed since the ceremony should have begun. Her phone buzzed. A single message from Jae-hyun, the man she'd planned to marry. "I can't do this. I'm sorry." No explanation, no farewell. Just absence where promises should have been. The officiant touched her shoulder gently, his eyes filled with pity she couldn't bear to see. Minji's mother sat in the front row, face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. The shame would be unbearable. In their small community, this humiliation would follow her family for years. She heard footsteps echoing through the church, confident and unhurried. The crowd's murmurs intensified. Minji couldn't bring herself to turn around, couldn't face more judgment, more pity. But the footsteps didn't stop. They came closer, climbing the altar steps. "Excuse me," a deep voice said beside her. She turned to find a man in an impeccably tailored suit, his presence commanding immediate attention. She recognized him vaguely. Kang Tae-jun, CEO of Kang Industries, someone far above her ordinary world. His dark eyes met hers with unexpected warmth. "I believe there's been a mistake," he announced, his voice carrying through the silent church. "This woman is already spoken for." He turned to face the stunned congregation, his expression calm but absolute. "She's mine." The church erupted in shocked gasps. Minji stared at him, unable to comprehend what was happening. Tae-jun extended his hand toward her, a slight smile touching his lips, his eyes asking a question only she could answer. Minji's mind raced as she stared at Tae-jun's outstretched hand. She'd seen him before, always from a distance, at charity galas her catering company serviced. In business magazines, her father read religiously. Kang Tae-jun, the youngest CEO in Korea's top 50 companies, known for his brilliant business acumen and notorious privacy. Why would he do this? They'd never even spoken before. The guests' whispers grew louder, a tide of speculation threatening to drown her. Her mother had lifted her head, confusion replacing despair. The officiant stood frozen, uncertain how to proceed. Minji's hand moved almost of its own accord, reaching toward Tae-jun's. His fingers closed around hers, warm and steady, anchoring her in the surreal moment. "Trust me," he whispered, so quietly only she could hear. Something in his eyes, not pity, but understanding, made her decision. She nodded, barely perceptible, but enough. Tae-jun turned to the officiant. "I apologize for the unconventional circumstances. I'd like to proceed with the ceremony if the bride consents." His thumb brushed across her knuckles, the gentle gesture contradicting his formal words. Minji's voice caught. Every eye in the church bore into her. Her carefully planned life had just shattered. What did she have to lose? "Yes." The church exploded with noise. Shocked exclamations, excited chatter, her mother's surprised cry. Tae-jun's assistant, a composed woman in a navy suit, appeared from nowhere with papers and a phone, speaking rapidly in low tones. Everything moved with bewildering speed. 30 minutes later, Minji sat in the back of a luxury sedan, still in her wedding dress, a marriage certificate bearing Kang Tae-jun's signature resting in her lap. The man beside her stared out the window, his expression unreadable. "Why did you do that?" she finally asked. Tae-jun turned to her, and for a moment his carefully controlled mask slipped. "Because I understand what it's like to be abandoned," he said quietly. "And because sometimes the strangest decisions become the rightest ones." Tae-jun's penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of Seoul's most exclusive residential tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the city sprawling beneath them, lights beginning to twinkle as evening approached. Minji stood in the vast living room, still wearing her wedding dress, feeling impossibly small in the palatial space. A housekeeper had appeared immediately, offering tea and refreshments, treating Minji with cautious respect. Now she sat on a minimalist sofa that probably cost more than her entire year's salary, watching Taejun remove his jacket and loosen his tie. He moved with practiced efficiency, every gesture controlled and purposeful. "We should discuss the arrangement," he said, pouring 2 glasses of wine. He handed her one, then sat across from her, maintaining careful distance. "This marriage will be contractual. 1 year initially. You'll live here, appear at necessary social functions as my wife, and in return, you'll receive financial security and protection from the scandal." Minji sipped the wine, buying time to process. "Why do you need a wife?" "My grandfather controls the company's board. He's threatened to force me out unless I settle down, prove I'm stable, committed." Taejun's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "He wants to see me married to someone appropriate before he retires. You need to escape humiliation. It's mutually beneficial." "What happens after a year?" "Quiet divorce, generous settlement. You'll have enough to start over anywhere you choose." His tone was businesslike, as if discussing a corporate merger rather than a marriage. It should have felt cold, transactional. But Minji saw something else in his eyes, a loneliness that mirrored her own. "And if your grandfather discovers the truth?" "He won't. We'll be convincing." Taejun stood, retrieved a folder from his desk. "These are the terms. Read carefully. Ask questions. You have every right to refuse and walk away." Minji opened the folder, scanning the precisely worded contract. One clause caught her attention. Neither party shall develop genuine romantic feelings for the other. She almost laughed at the absurdity, as if feelings could be contractually prevented. "I'll sign," she said. The master bedroom was larger than Minji's entire previous apartment. Taejun showed her the space with minimal commentary, the walk-in closet already filled with designer clothes in her exact size, the ensuite bathroom with its marble fixtures and rainfall shower, the private balcony overlooking the Han River. "How did you know my size?" she asked, running her hand along a cashmere sweater. "I have efficient staff." He paused at the doorway. "I'll take the guest room across the hall. You'll have complete privacy here. The code to the penthouse is your birthday. I had it changed this afternoon." Her birthday. A detail she'd never mentioned. "How efficient staff," he repeated, but something like amusement flickered across his features. "Tomorrow we'll brief you on the family dynamics before dinner with my grandfather. Tonight, rest. You've had an overwhelming day." He turned to leave, but Minji's voice stopped him. "Taejun-si." He looked back. "Thank you for what you did at the church. Even if it was for practical reasons, you saved me from something I couldn't have survived." His expression softened almost imperceptibly. "You're stronger than you think, Minji. I could see it in how you stood there, refusing to run despite wanting to." He hesitated, then added quietly, "Get some rest. Tomorrow begins the performance." Alone, Minji explored her new bedroom, touching expensive fabrics, breathing in the scent of fresh flowers someone had arranged on the nightstand. She found a gift box on the bed, a phone, latest model, with a single contact already programmed, Taejun. The note read simply, "In case you need anything." She changed out of the wedding dress, hanging it carefully in the closet. In the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Same face, but everything else transformed. Her phone buzzed, Jae-hyun's number. She deleted it without reading the message. That night, lying in sheets softer than clouds, Minji heard Taejun moving in the room across the hall. Two strangers, now legally bound, separated by walls and contracts and careful distance. She wondered which would crumble first. Kang Dae-won sat at the head of an obscenely long dining table, his silver hair impeccably groomed, his eyes sharp as cut glass. At 78, he commanded Kang Industries with an iron will that had built an empire from his father's modest construction company. Now he studied his grandson's sudden bride with undisguised scrutiny. "So," he said, his voice carrying the weight of decades of authority, "you're the woman who captured my grandson's famously guarded heart." Minji felt Taejun's hand find hers under the table, a silent reminder of their practiced story. "We met at a charity gala 6 months ago," she said, keeping her voice steady. "We kept our relationship private to avoid media attention." Private. Daewon's eyebrow arched. "Taejun has made privacy into an art form. He's never brought a woman to family dinner in his 32 years. He sipped his wine, never breaking eye contact with Min-ji. "Why the sudden public wedding?" "Her previous engagement ended," Taejun interjected smoothly. "The church was already reserved. It seemed practical and romantic to not let the arrangements go to waste." His thumb traced circles on Min-ji's palm, whether to comfort her or maintain their act. She couldn't tell. Daewon's expression remained inscrutable. "Practical. How like you, Taejun?" He turned to Min-ji. "What do you do, child?" "I manage a catering company. Small, but growing." She lifted her chin slightly, refusing to be diminished. "I've worked there since university." "A working woman. Good. I have no patience for ornamental wives." Daewon's approval surprised her. "My own wife, may she rest in peace, ran our finances while I chased contracts." Dinner progressed with careful conversation. Taejun's aunt arrived late, Kim Soo-jin, whose designer suit and calculating gaze suggested she had her own agenda. She watched them with barely concealed suspicion. "Quite a whirlwind romance," Soo-jin remarked, her smile not reaching her eyes. "One might almost call it convenient timing." Taejun's hand tightened on Min-ji's. "One might also call it fate," he replied coolly. The charity gala ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and Seoul's elite. Min-ji wore a midnight blue gown that Taejun's stylist had selected, its elegant simplicity making her feel almost confident. Almost. Cameras flashed as they entered, Taejun's hand resting possessively at the small of her back, playing his part perfectly. "Smile," he murmured near her ear. "They're watching for weakness." She did, tilting her head toward him as if sharing an intimate moment. His eyes widened slightly. She was learning to play this game too. Around them, whispers followed like a wake. The mysterious bride, the sudden wedding, how romantic, how suspicious. Soo-jin materialized beside them, her smile venomous. "Min-ji, darling, you look lovely. Though I heard your previous fiancé is here tonight. How awkward." Min-ji's stomach dropped. She scanned the crowd and found him, Jae-hyun, across the ballroom with a woman she didn't recognize, his arm around her waist. The woman was stunning, sophisticated, everything Min-ji had tried to be for him. "Excuse me," she managed, needing air, needing space. She walked quickly toward the terrace, aware of Taejun following. The night air hit her like cold water, and she gripped the railing, fighting tears she refused to shed in public. "Min-ji." Taejun's voice was gentle. "Look at me." She turned, and he stepped closer, his hands framing her face with unexpected tenderness. "He's not worth this. Not 1 second of your pain. I know, I thought I loved him." "You loved who you hoped he'd become. That's different." Taejun's thumb brushed away a tear that escaped despite her best efforts. "And for what it's worth, he's a fool. You're extraordinary." The words, delivered with such quiet conviction, cracked something in her chest. "You don't have to say that. No one's watching here. I'm not saying it for them." His eyes held hers, dark and fathomless. "I'm saying it because it's true." Time suspended. A camera flash exploded nearby. A photographer had followed them. Tae-jun moved instantly, pulling Min-ji close and kissing her, a perfect performance for the intrusive lens. But when the photographer retreated, Tae-jun didn't immediately pull away. Neither did she. The photograph appeared in every major publication the next morning. Tae-jun and Min-ji on the terrace, locked in what appeared to be a passionate embrace. Min-ji stared at the image on her phone over breakfast, remembering the kiss that had started as performance and ended as something else entirely. Tae-jun sat across from her, ostensibly reading reports, but she caught him glancing at the same photograph on his tablet. "The press loves it," she said carefully. "Your grandfather will be pleased." "Yes." His tone was neutral, professionally distant. The warmth from last night had vanished behind his corporate walls. "It serves our purposes well." The words stung more than they should have. Min-ji stood abruptly. "I have a meeting at my catering company. I'll be back this evening." "Min-ji..." He reached for her hand, then stopped himself. "Be careful. Photographers might follow you now." At her office, her business partner Ji-woo greeted her with knowing eyes. "So, you married a billionaire, planning to explain that?" Over coffee, Min-ji shared a carefully edited version, meeting Tae-jun, a quick connection, deciding to take a chance. The lies tasted bitter, but necessary. Ji-woo listened, skeptical but supportive. "Just be careful," she warned. "Men like that, they live in different worlds. Don't lose yourself trying to fit into his." He returned near midnight. Tae loosened, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. He stopped when he saw her curled on the sofa, reading. "You're still awake." Couldn't sleep. She closed her book. "Tae-jun, about yesterday. We should maintain boundaries." His words came quickly, defensively. "The kiss was for the cameras. Nothing more." "Of course." She kept her voice steady, matching his professional tone. "I understand perfectly." But they both knew she was lying. And worse, they both knew he was too. Daewon's sudden illness came without warning. Tae-jun received the call at 2 a.m. His grandfather had collapsed at home, rushed to the hospital with suspected cardiac arrest. Min-ji woke to find Tae-jun pacing the living room, still in pajamas, his usual composure shattered. "I should go," he said, more to himself than to her. "But if he's dying, if this is the end and he discovers we're a fraud, then we'll face it together." Min-ji stood, placing her hand on his arm. "Get dressed. I'm coming with you." Daewon lay in the ICU bed, looking suddenly fragile, machines beeping around him. His eyes opened when Tae-jun entered, Min-ji following uncertainly. "Grandfather?" Tae-jun's voice cracked. "Save your strength." "Nonsense. Death has nothing on my stubbornness." Daewon's smile was weak. "But it makes a man think. About legacy, about truth." His gaze found Min-ji. "Come here, child." She approached, taking his weathered hand when he extended it. "This marriage," Daewon said quietly. "I know it started as convenience." Min-ji's heart stopped. Tae-jun tensed beside her. "Sir, let me finish." Daewon squeezed her hand. "I built an empire but lost my family in the process. My wife died while I was closing a deal. I won't make Tae-jun repeat my mistakes." "I don't understand," Min-ji whispered. "I know you married to help each other. I'm old, not blind." His eyes moved between them. "But I also see something real growing. I see how he looks at you when you're not watching, how you steady him when he's spiraling." Daewon's expression softened. "Whatever this started as, don't let pride prevent it from becoming what it could be." Tae-jun drove aimlessly after leaving the hospital. Daewon stabilized, but still critical. Min-ji sat beside him in silence as Seoul's neon-lit streets blurred past. Finally, he pulled over at a deserted overlook, the city sprawling beneath them like scattered stars. He knew. Taejun's voice was hollow. The whole time he knew, and he gave us his blessing anyway. Minji turned to him. Maybe because he saw what we've been refusing to admit, which is that this stopped being fake weeks ago. Taejun's hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. We signed a contract, clear terms, no emotional complications. Tell me you feel nothing. Minji's challenge hung in the air. Look at me and say this is still just business. He turned, and his carefully constructed walls crumbled. I can't. God help me, I can't. His voice broke. You terrify me, Minji. Every day, you slip further past my defenses. I wake up thinking about you. Fall asleep wishing you were beside me instead of across the hall. Then why do you keep pushing me away? Because everyone I've ever loved has left. The confession tore from him. My father died when I was 12. My mother chose grief over her living son. I built walls because walls don't abandon you. And then you appeared, strong and stubborn and impossible to keep at arm's length, and I'm terrified that if I let myself love you, you'll discover I'm not worth staying for. Minji reached for him, pulling his face toward hers. You're an idiot, she said softly. A brilliant, broken, beautiful idiot. And I'm not going anywhere. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise to try, to fight for this, to be honest about what I feel. She took a shaking breath. I'm falling in love with you, Taejun. It wasn't in the contract and it terrifies me too, but it's the truth. His kiss was desperate, seeking, a drowning man finding air. I love you, he whispered. I think I have since I saw you standing at that altar refusing to break. Soo-jin struck 3 days later. She called an emergency board meeting, presenting evidence she claimed proved Taejun's marriage was fraudulent. The rushed wedding, Minji's previous engagement ending the same day, financial records showing the contract's terms. Minji sat in Taejun's office as he read the summons, his expression darkening. She's been investigating us from the beginning. What happens if the board believes her? They can vote to remove me as CEO, install Soo-jin instead. He paced like a caged wolf. Everything I've worked for, gone. Stop. Minji blocked his path. Fight for us, not because of the company, but because we're worth fighting for. The board meeting was a battlefield disguised as corporate proceedings. Soo-jin presented her evidence with venomous precision. Taejun countered with financial reports, character witnesses. Then Dae-won entered the room leaning on a cane. This meeting is over. Father, you're not well, Soo-jin began. I'm well enough to recognize a power grab. Dae-won's voice carried steel. My grandson's marriage may have started unconventionally, but I've watched it become genuine. More importantly, Taejun has increased company profits by 40%. His personal life is irrelevant. The vote was swift. Taejun retained his position. Taejun found Minji on the penthouse balcony that evening, watching the sun set over Seoul. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. We survived, she said quietly. Thanks to you and grandfather. He turned her to face him. Minji, I need to say something. Our marriage started as a contract, a business arrangement, but standing in that boardroom today, facing the possibility of losing you, not as a wife but as you, I realized something. What's that? I want to marry you again. Properly this time. No contracts, no conditions. Just us, choosing each other because we can't imagine not choosing each other. Tears welled in Minji's eyes. Are you proposing? Yes. Badly, apparently, since I don't have a ring. He smiled, that rare, genuine expression that transformed his entire face. But I'm asking you to take a chance on a broken man who's trying to be better, who loves you more than he thought himself capable of loving, who wants to build a real life with you, messy and complicated and true. Yes. She laughed through tears. Yes, you stubborn, wonderful man. I'll marry you, again, for real this time. They planned a small ceremony, just close friends and family. Dae-won, recovered enough to attend, walked Min-ji down the aisle in a garden overlooking the city. Ji-woo served as maid of honor, wiping tears throughout. Tae-jun's mother smiled for the first time in years. This time, Min-ji's vows were her own. "You found me on the worst day of my life and turned it into the beginning of my best life. You're difficult and guarded and terrible at expressing emotions. You're also kind and brilliant and loyal beyond measure. I love all of you, the polished CEO and the vulnerable man underneath. I choose you, today and always." Tae-jun's voice shook as he spoke. "I've spent my life building walls. You walked through every single one as if they were paper. You see me, really see me, and somehow choose to stay. I don't deserve you, but I'll spend our life together trying to be worthy of that choice. I love you, Min-ji, completely, finally, forever." Their kiss was tender, unhurried, witnessed by people who loved them. No cameras, no performance, just truth, sealed with a promise. 1 year after their first wedding, Min-ji stood in the same church where everything had begun. But this time, the pews held only laughter and love, friends celebrating a renewal ceremony the couple had planned to commemorate their journey. Tae-jun waited at the altar, no longer a stranger but her partner, her home. Dae-won sat in the front row where Min-ji's mother had once wept with shame. Now both women cried happy tears, their families joined through love that had conquered every obstacle. "It seems fitting," Tae-jun had said when suggesting this ceremony. "We started here with a lie. Let's return and replace it with truth." Their vows were simpler now, worn smooth by daily living. "You're my home," she said, "my safe place to land." "You're my courage," he replied, "my reason to keep trying." After the ceremony, Tae-jun pulled her aside, leading her to the church's bell tower. From this height, they could see Seoul spreading endlessly. "I come here sometimes," he confessed. "To this church I've never told you." "Why?" "To remember that the worst day of your life led to the best of mine." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "I bought this the day after we met. Meant to give it to you at our second wedding, but lost my nerve." Inside lay a delicate ring, a simple band etched with Korean characters. "What does it say?" "She's mine. I'm hers." His voice was soft. "The words I said that first day, when I had no right to claim you. Now they're true." Min-ji slipped the ring on, watching it catch the fading light. She thought of Jae-hyun's cowardly text message, the humiliation that had nearly broken her, the desperate stranger who'd become her salvation. "Do you know what I thought that day?" she asked. "When you climbed those altar steps? That I was insane?" "That too," she smiled. "But mostly I thought you had kind eyes. Even when you were lying to an entire church, your eyes told the truth. They said you understood pain." Tae-jun pulled her close. "I was terrified. I saw you standing there, and something in me recognized something in you. I couldn't walk away." "I'm glad you didn't." "Me too, even though you're terrible at following schedules and leave books everywhere. And you work too late and hide emotions behind spreadsheets." "We're a disaster," he said fondly. "We're perfect," she corrected. The church bells began to ring. They descended together into their new life. A year ago, Min-ji had stood alone in that sanctuary, abandoned and ashamed. Now she walked into the sunset with a partner who'd chosen her when she couldn't choose herself. Seoul glittered around them. They were just two people among millions, but their story was theirs alone, messy, imperfect, and utterly true. "She's mine," Tae-jun had declared to a church full of strangers. Now, finally, completely, joyfully, they belonged to each other.